So now it's recording.
Now it is.
Yep, you're all set.
See, now the red light is
Yep.
on. Okay. Is it on the right side?
Yep.
Yes, I have. All right, and I'll watch to make sure that's on the right time.
Yeah, we're good.
Good evening. Our inspirational message, listen closely. Summer means happy times and good sunshine. It means going to the beach, enjoying the scenery, having fun with family and friends. Brian Wilson. I would like to recognize our bulletin board. This evening, Mr. Riggio's class. Let's give them a big round of applause. Get the opportunity, please take a stroll around it. Now over to our board president.
Okay, a little bit of a different format, because everybody hear me okay? Okay. Because we have a new system in place, which is great. So we have the routine approvals, the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion? Motion. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of warrants, budget transfers, and wire transfers. Do I have a motion? Motion. Do I have a second? All the discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of treasurer's report. Do I have a motion? Motion. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Joanne, I'm very excited because they're going in live. I have to be honest. Right? They're going to go in like tonight. I'm excited. Okay. All right.
I'm going to jump right to the presentations this evening because we do have children and we have a lot to celebrate.
Actually, real quick, just because of Robert's rules of order, is the board okay if we move item 4 up before number 3? Yeah. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Sorry.
I appreciate that, thank you. Our first presentation, I know that Mrs. Friedman and I had a wonderful opportunity about 2 months ago to go visit Old Mill Road for the kindergarten poetry teas. And we were simply blown away by the presentations of the students. So we thought we'd bring them out this evening with their principal and their teachers. So let's have a big round of applause for our Old Mill Road kindergarten poetry.
down the whole time? What? Okay, so hi, I'm Ivy Morash. I'm one of the kindergarten teachers at Old Mill Road. This is what I feel strange about, that I feel like I should be facing you and I feel like I should be facing them. Am I okay facing this way or should I be turning around anyway? I don't know.
Right there.
All right. So thank you so much for having us here tonight. We are really proud of our kindergarten students for the work that they did during our kindergarten poetry unit. So we just wanted to take you through the process that the kids went through so you could see how their fabulous work originated. So the first step of the whole process was immersing the kids in lots of different poetry. So we read tons of poems from famous poets like Jack Kerouac, Michelle Silverstein, and we also exposed them to a lot of different pattern books. So we read books like One Duck Stuck, Brown Bear, Over in the Meadow, just to really expose the students to the different language and get them excited about poetry. So the more we read, the more excited they seemed to get about poetry. We also did a lot of shared reading. So in shared reading, there were big books. And big books the kids loved because we read them every day and they are actually engaged in the reading process. So the books that we chose had those same patterns and just exciting little dynamic to them that made them start thinking, oh, maybe we could use these interesting little repeating lines and things in our poetry when we start writing it. So the shared reading, along with just all the books that they were exposed to as we read to them, just got them really excited about writing poems. So after the immersion, then we began the shared writing process. So the shared writing process was, the most important thing is we had to have the kids generating ideas. So when the kids were generating their ideas, we had them thinking about their things that they love, things that they know a lot about, their past experiences, and even things that are just fun to write about. Because a lot of the poems that we were listening to were just fun to listen to. So we said, oh, maybe it would be fun to write a poem about monkeys, or maybe it would be fun to write a poem about watermelon. So just anything that would be fun and exciting to write about. So we spent a lot of time just generating different ideas for poetry. After the generating ideas, that is when we actually started the shared writing process. So the shared writing process was the kids actually engaged in writing poems together. So on that day, we would say, okay, today, what do we want to write about? Let's do a poem about watermelon. And then we would together between, at first, a lot of modeling, then a lot of scaffolding, but really just getting the kids engaged in writing poems together. And we would put different types of craft into those poems as we wrote them together. So we would say, you know what, why don't we try adding some descriptive language to this poem? Or maybe we should try a repeated line. Maybe we should put some sound words here. That might be fun to do. So we would write different poems together, and the students would use all different types of craft and craft these poems. They also really understood, because we did a lot of process writing before that, they really understood that an author does not just write a book one time and that's it. They know that authors have a process when they write and that they're always going back and revising and changing things. So we kind of related that to poetry as well. Poets do the same thing. So we might have our poem on watermelon and we might do a repeated line and then say, you know what, let's change the repeated line and now let's do something else to it. So it was a lot of just playing around as a class, but they got really excited and the kids would also bounce off of each other. So somebody would say, oh, maybe we could try this sound word, and then somebody else would say, oh, you know what, and then we can do this. So it was also a collaboration, which was really nice. After the shared writing, the kids were really excited. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
After the shared writing, the kids were still really excited to write poems. So now was the drafting process. So the drafting process where they have their own writing folders, they have their topics they're excited about, and they went off and were drafting their own poems. And each day they were encouraged to try something different. Well, you've written a lot with repeated lines, so maybe this time try something different. So they really were encouraged to challenge themselves and think outside the box a little bit. Okay, this is amazing.
Okay, so at that point, they had come up with a lot of poems. They wrote a lot of different poems, repeated lines, you name it. Not too much rhyming, more craft, more sounds, and they really played with a lot of different types of craft. And then we had a folder full of poems. So we said, okay, now you need to reread all of your poems and pick one. Pick one that you would like to share, to celebrate. We said pick one that's really special to you. So we read them together, they read them on their own, they picked one. Once a piece was chosen, we began editing and revising. We used anchor charts, not just from this unit, but from previous units that we had created in the classroom. We used writing checklists. They conferred with their reading partners and writing partners. They conferred with us. So once they made a selection, now we had to prepare for the poetry tea. So we really talked with the poetry tea. We sent out invitations. They practiced reading their poems independently. They read with reading partners. They read at the podium in front of the class. They really started to get excited. The first few times it was a little scary, but then they became pros. They did a really great job. And in that process, we worked on voice and fluency and expression and speed. And with each reading, they gained more and more confidence. They almost couldn't wait to get up there to read their poems. So now the poetry tea comes along. We send out invitations. We have a whole celebration with fruit, cookies, and even tea in little teapots. And each child presented their poem to a room full of really excited guests. Grandmas, grandpas, everybody came. It was really a great time. They did an amazing job. We were so proud of them. Their hard work, their dedication. It's really a fun time. It's a great process. I'd say the process probably takes maybe about 3 weeks, the whole unit, and it's such a wonderful conclusion to the unit. Not all units end that way. It was really nice to see. The hard work, dedication, anyone that attended, it was apparent, how hard they work. Tonight, we have some special guests who are very excited to read their poems to you. Tonight we have Sophia Lagunitos, Paul Tetta, Sienna Lee, and Smith Schoen. Sophia is going to come up first and read her poem.
Green, green, green. O school, you are red. Red, red, red. O school, you open your doors. Welcome, welcome, welcome. O school, you are big, 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 big. O school, you are so much fun. Happy, happy, happy. Always listen to the coach. Sometimes we dribble. Keep the ball by your side. Everyone wears a uniform. Teamwork is important. Best players always practice. Like students of ball. Love basketball by Paul Tetta. The bird eats, chirp, chirp. The kangaroo jumps, bounce, bounce. The butterfly flies, flap, flap. The taboo, taboo, taboo. Verse by Smith Shaw. 1. Drinking alcohol. 2. Hanging out. 3. Beautiful rainbows. 4. People eating. 5. Years passing by. 6. Coloring papers. 7. Paper. 8. Paintbrushes getting kicked. 9. M&M cookies. 10. Lego sets. I love numbers.
All right, thank you guys so much for listening to our poetry explanation of our unit. I don't know what to say. Thank these wonderful children because they need
A big shout out to Ms. Zadinsky and Ms. Morash and Ms. DeLuca. Now our kindergartners can go home. You don't have to stay. Thank you, parents, for spending the night with us. All right, next presentation, we have our retirement honorees. So we do have 3 retirements from the teachers this year. So I think we will start with Mrs. Friedman. Would you like to read it out? Yes, Mrs. Levin. Mrs. Levin, will you come forward, please?
Wendy, you're a consummate teacher and a lifelong learner. You hold a BA from Barnard and an MA from Columbia Teachers College. You hold New York State Special Education Certification, Elementary Certification, and a Certificate in Gifted and Talented Education. Before joining this district, you taught for 7 years at the Stephen Gaynor School in New York City. Following your 1996 appointment as a substitute teacher in North Merrick, you became a learning resource room teacher, part of the special education department, and shortly thereafter became the district teacher of the gifted and talented. For the next 21 years, through your infectious enthusiasm, and by literally redefining the program every single year, you have been a driving force behind the WINGS program. From Hyper Studio and video conferencing to apps and green screen technology, from MacBooks and iPads to Chromebooks and span walls, from Odyssey of the Mind state competitions in Binghamton, advanced independent study projects to Lego robotics and mock trials, from 3D printing to raising Madagascar hissing cockroaches. If I might, imagine the reaction of the administrative team when we were convened for a noontime meeting and the little Madagascar creature who Mrs. Levin brought to introduce to us jumped out of her hand and onto the superintendent's lunch. Mrs. Levin has poured her time and resources into WINGS, mentored teachers as well as other districts in meeting the needs of the gifted child. She's challenged her students and colleagues alike, encouraged everyone to dig deeper while flashing a wide smile and exclaiming, "That's a brilliant idea." During her tenure, Mrs. Levin has given many board presentations, advised many after-school clubs, taught several in-service classes. She was recognized by SEPTA as a recipient of the SEPTA Lifetime Award, and even now, as she's retiring, we're going to continue to tap into your expertise as we move toward the broader concept of enrichment for all. So on behalf of the Board of Education and District Administration, we wish Mrs. Levin, Wendy, you, much happiness and much leisure time to spend with your loving husband, Paul, their 5 adult children, their grandchild-to-be, yay, Becky! And Brody, their Yorkie. more time to travel, take courses, read, and while away the hours on the beach. More time for yourself and for your own continued education and enrichment. Wendy, thank you so much for all you have given each and every one of us, each and every one of our children throughout the last 21 years in North Merrick. Next on the agenda, we have passed the mic to Mrs. Laura DeLuca, who is going to speak on behalf of Mrs. Emery Cosgrove. Emery, do you want to come up?
Hi, for those of you who do not know me, let me introduce myself. I am Laura DeLuca 2025. And I am here tonight to give congratulations to Anne-Marie Cosgrove 2017. There's a little bit of story behind that. So some of you might be saying, what are those numbers about? Well, when I first walked through the doors of Old Mill Road back in 2004, I was greeted with a bright, friendly smile and a firm handshake from Anne-Marie and learned that 2017 was the year she planned to retire. I quickly learned that Anne-Marie was a planner and very well organized, so it didn't surprise me that she had her retirement date all planned out. However, when 2017 came around, Anne-Marie was not ready to retire yet. She still wanted to teach, and I am grateful for that because I got to work with her one more year at Old Mill Road. Anne-Marie has worked in this district since 1984, if I have that correct. 85, okay. There you go. And has worked as a special education teacher, a kindergarten teacher, a first grade teacher, a second grade teacher, a third grade teacher, a fifth grade teacher, and a sixth grade teacher. So she's pretty much done it all. She has dedicated 34 years to teaching the children in our North Merrick community. I have very fond memories of working with Anne-Marie at Old Mill Road. I wanted to have a faculty staff Halloween theme, and Anne-Marie was one of the key players, along with, I see Liz Kramer is here tonight, so I can't not acknowledge Liz. And the two of them said, well, we can do this, we can pull this off. And we decided on 101 Dalmatians. And Anne-Marie and Liz were instrumental in getting the entire Old Mill Road faculty and staff together in the art room, and we had a paint party. And I was Cruella de Vil, and they were the Dalmatians. And I could not have been happier with the camaraderie that I saw amongst the staff at Old Mill, and how they embraced me and my craziness and my ideas, and we became a family. And I thank you for that. Then I had another crazy idea later that year, that was in the fall, and then in the spring I said, what do you guys think about a variety show? And once again, Anne-Marie said, I can help with that. No matter what you brought to Anne-Marie, she was willing to help, lend a hand, and along with Dr. Hoffman, Mrs. LaPena, Amory, we put on a variety show for the first time at Old Mill Road, and the variety show, as many of you know, still goes on to this date. And that's thanks to you, Amory, and all the hard work you and others at Old Mill did. So the list is endless of what Amory has accomplished. I know her from working with her at Old Mill, but she's done many things, working at Camp Avenue. I believe you started at Fayette when you first came. So I'm sure the things that I remember at Old Mill, other people can share their experiences with Amory. I know this year I sit on the CAC, the Curriculum Advisory Committee, so Amory is always doing extra. She's always one who goes above and beyond. She's a team player, always willing to lend a hand and go that extra mile. So it's a great honor for me to stand here today to wish you all the best, to you, Rich, and your family, as you retire in 2019. May you always look back on your years in the North Merrick School District with fondness and know that all of us here wish you lots of happiness as you start this next chapter in your life.
And now, last but certainly not least, we would like to honor Diane Miskett. And we actually brought someone in who has a time limit though, because from what I hear, you can talk and talk. So would Diane come forward, please? David Feller, come up.
Nice to be here without any pressure or stress. Can you relate to that, Dr. Seniak? Anyway, I want to thank Dr. Seniak and Beth Friedman for extending the invitation for me to come back. And it's actually the first time that I've been in this room since I left. And Diane's career and my career are somewhat intricately meshed together. When I was interviewing with the board for superintendency, I remember one of the questions that was asked of me is, what do you think about the schools having social workers in each school? And the board had really spent a lot of time on the topic, feeling that North Merrick should really be a lighthouse district when it comes to addressing the emotional health needs of our students, and not just the academics, but that the emotional needs are important. And I thought it was a great idea, so thanks to those members of the board who were there back in 2000, 2001. I see one of them is here today, Dr. Kushner, he was part of that. So, and anyway, it just so happens that there was a social worker who was at the school who was working for a temporary agency called Tempo that had an office in the Belmont Merrick's Central High School District, and they were providing social work services on a part-time basis to schools. Diane was contracted through that agency. So when it came time to fill a position, Diane was a logical choice. I can't take credit for actually picking Diane, but she was appointed the same night that I was appointed. So we began our careers in North Merrick together. And I have to say that those responsible for hiring did a wonderful job because Diane was perfect. The school's motto was kind, caring, and helpful. I believe it still is. And that really describes Diane to a T. Diane is kind, caring, and helpful. She really rolls up her sleeves, gets involved with anything that needs to be done in terms of what social workers typically do, which is provide counseling to students, whether they have IEPs, to be a general support for the entire school population, to provide collaborative support to teachers and to parents and the outside professionals. But beyond that, Diane really took a leadership role at the school in terms of bringing important programs that really emphasize character education and what being a good citizen in North America is. And probably one of the most heartwarming programs that was started at Camp Avenue, which I believe has spread since then, it was the Senior to Senior Social. I remember when that first got started, and for those of you who don't know that program, I really encourage you to visit it. It's really a program where the sixth graders invite seniors from the local senior assisted living centers. A committee of folks, and Diane was one of the leaders of this, deck out the cafeteria, or the gymatorium, I guess is really the best way to put it. It's not the cafeteria, it's been so long that I forgot the name of the room. But anyway, it's the gym, the auditorium, whatever you want to call it. So they deck it out, it looks like a reception hall, and the seniors come. They were able to get collections from local restaurateurs who donated food. There are parent volunteers who serve the seniors. And every senior, virtually this school had 100% participation of all the sixth graders. They greet the seniors, they sit down with them, they serve them, they dance with them, they perform with them. And it became such a heartwarming program that it was here year after year. Diane also helped to spearhead all sorts of other initiatives. I know that we were very active with Long Island Cares, with food drives. I remember getting a letter of recognition which specifically mentioned Diane as an important person in that, and all sorts of other activities when there were families in need who needed extra support, fundraisers, whatever. Diane was always there. So while I can't really give you advice on retirement since I haven't been that good at it, I do want to congratulate you and wish you the best. I also want to wish Anne Marie and Wendy all the best, because it's been a pleasure working with you. But Diane, as a pioneer with our school social worker, you should feel very good about what you accomplished and the example that you set for everyone else, and how many countless number of families and children you've helped. So congratulations.
What better way to celebrate what you have done for our students than to bring our students